I was there when you needed to cry. I never knew a friend could be so small and have a heart just as big as the moon. You know I can't stop you from growing up. I just wish that it wasn't so soon. Through the years, the sorrow, the joy that we borrow, the tears that we share with the rain. Oh, today, tomorrow, forever I'll follow your trail. Just call my name.
Yep, it was in my local music store. I was in my early 20s, and I was starting to perform live as a solo artist. And so I was looking for something that, you know, I could plug in and it would sound decent. You know, the guitar I had did not sound good plugged in. And so I went to my local music store and I saw this guitar. I couldn't reach it. It was too high up. But I liked the look of it. It was a Dreadnought. I think it was the EAN 10C, but that was my first one. I remember distinctly when I first pulled it down, or when I had the store manager pull it down from the shelf. The first chord that I played on that thing, my immediate thought was an upright bass. It had this like resonation in the body. And I think that had a lot to do with the cedar top and just the way that it handled the full body tone. It was like the whole thing resonated. I love the way it felt when I played it. Like I loved the vibration of it that it had. I loved the thickness of the bass that it had. And I loved the playability of the neck. I thought the action was really, really perfect for me. And so I immediately connected with that one. And it wasn't the most expensive model, you know, of guitars. There was plenty on the shelf, and the manager was like trying to sell me on the other ones. He's like, well, yeah, try this one. Like, I don't think so, dude. I think this is it, man. You know? And then it was just a really pleasant surprise when I plugged it in, because the electronics were definitely better than any of the other models. Higher priced models, a lot of it couldn't beat it in my mind. So it was just the one that I stuck with because I couldn't find a better one. Didn't find a better guitar. I think it was more like, you know, the necessity is the mother of invention thing. You know, it was more like I had been in my head. I had been hearing this sound that I couldn't get anywhere. I wanted the feel of, I like having the acoustic body in my, to hold that body because of the thickness of it. And I also like the way that the action feels on an acoustic guitar a lot. And the neck is wide. That's, I like that feel. But I did want the option of having more of an electric sound combined with that. And when I first started to hear this sound in my head, what I naturally did was I had a channel splitter, a little AB box, and I would split the Acoustic-Electric signal. So the jack going out from the acoustic guitar, the piezo pickup, I would run that through an amplifier, but also run a separate line so I could get it direct too. And that it was a taste of what it was going in the right direction, but I ran into so much problems with feedback on stage, because naturally you run an acoustic guitar through an electric amplifier, it's gonna feedback. The sound was less than desirable in terms of the tinniness of it. And so I was thinking, man, there's got to be another way. And it took a couple of years, and that part I can't take all the credit for, because I actually went into my local music shop. This guy Peter, who runs this place called Color City Guitars, which is still around in Troy, New York. That's where I grew up. And I asked him, I was like, and he worked on guitars. He did some funky stuff to guitars and amps, kind of dressed them up in kind of a novel way. And so I asked him, I was like, what do you think about, like, how can we make this more electric? And he's like, well, I mean, we could try putting a electric pickup in it. But there were some problems with that idea. And one being that the space to do it, because, you know, it already has the pickup in it, and where do you put an electric pickup with it? The sound hole was the obvious choice because I was already using one of those rubber feedback stoppers on stage, and he saw that, and he's like, I think I could just put a electric pickup in here and wire it so that, you know, you have an optional electric pickup and the acoustic pickup at the same time. And then the other issue we ran into was, well, we got an acoustic string, so it's not going to sound great with an electric pickup. So you can do it, but it's not ideal. So I started using electric strings, but then I realized I wanted like thicker strings. So I started using electric flat wounds. And then I got used to flat wounds so much. I just love them so much because I love a dead acoustic guitar sound. I don't like this. I'm not one of those guys that likes brand new strings on the guitar and likes the way they sound. I don't like that. So the flat wounds naturally have this softer tone that sounds to me like dead strings, you know. And using a heavy gauge, I use 12s. That along with the electric pickup, it was amazing. First time I plugged it into the amp and I just soloed the pickup sound. We used the Epiphone bridge pickup and it sounded like an electric guitar to me, you know? And then combined with the piezo pickup, I got everything I wanted. And the only thing left to do was to properly ground. There was some grounding issues with the electric sound and the pickup being in the guitar like that. So we adjusted that, and the rest is history. I mean, that's been my sound. And I can't believe, to my knowledge, I'm the only one who has that modified version. And I mean, to me, it was just natural. Like I wanted that sound together. And I've seen things that were in the direction of that people have created, but to my knowledge, is nothing that sounds like that I got, you know?
Your angel doesn't work for free.
Yeah, it didn't start out that way. It started out because every single guitar I play that has the cedar top like this, this is probably my 5th tack right now, but it develops this hole right here. It starts there. It's just from the way that my hand hits on the guitar, my pinky basically coming down on it after, you know, set after set. It starts to develop that hole. And the problem was, like, it got so big that when my hand would come down, my pinky would get like stuck in there sometimes, you know, for a second. And it was so annoying. I'm like, come on, man. So I put a little piece of duct tape on it, on that hole, just so that wouldn't happen, just a little fix. And I was looking at it with that little piece of duct tape on it, and it just looked really off to me. I didn't like it. It just looked ugly, you know? So I was about to go on tour, I think, to Europe, and I went into the hardware store and I bought all these different colored sets of duct tape, and my girlfriend at the time was perplexed, like, what are you doing with all that? And I'm taping up like I'm going into battle, you know? And I'm taping up. I just came up with some different configurations of like a tape design, just to make that one piece of tape not be so lonely. And so I got a little carried away with it, but then it became like, I like this because it sort of, it sort of identifies my guitar, you know, in a way that, I think is pretty cool. It reminds me of like, have you ever seen this album, Big Joe Williams? He's a blues guy. He had this really crazy looking guitar that he modified, you could tell. But there's an album cover, I forget which one it is, but it's just the guitar. It takes up the whole cover. and it's leaning up against a fence or something, and it just looks all, all worn in and messed up. It's got wires hanging out of it and stuff, and so yeah, that's kind of the way I want mine to look, just really distinctive, and so it just turned into this thing that I think was its own. Well, for me, I'd say the feel is probably the most important, because the other stuff you can kind of mess with. And in terms of the looks, I mean, you've seen my current axe. It's seen better days in terms of it's the visual aspect, but I sort of made it my own. And I think that playability, though, just the feel of it, that's really important to me. And it's also intrinsic to, like, when you get something that feels really right, it does have this intrinsic ability to be like sort of your only guitar, because you get tied to the way something feels so much that if you grabbed another one, it's just not right. It doesn't feel right. You know what I mean? So you're naturally going to gravitate towards something that has just a great playability and feel to it. So in terms of the tone, I also do a lot of electronic things manipulating the guitar, so that kind of changes it too, but I like the built-in electronics to carry the bass really well in the body of the guitar. That's what I really look for. If it doesn't do that, then I probably wouldn't even use the internal electronics, you know what I mean? But I was definitely turned on by that quality it had. Yeah, they do. Occasionally I will write something on piano, but I don't really play the piano well, so I do like to mess around with it, though, but primarily, yeah, it's acoustic guitar that I'll bang out something at first.
With the case, but we ain't got the gold.
Usually, yeah, more times than not, it's a chord or it's a riff that sort of guides the song. I'll come up with lyrics usually afterwards, but it is, the melody and the guitar kind of come together, certainly, because I'm singing a lot while I'm playing, but it has happened. I'll just get, I think this is the sort of the magic of it, is that for me, it's like, it happens when you're not looking for it. That's like a parallel for a lot of things in life, but with something that is inspiring, like a chord or something like that, if I go looking for the chord, or I'm trying to find something different, it usually doesn't happen. It's more times than not, it happens when I'm working on something else. Those in-between moments that are created out of thin air, and more times than not, I will find something cool out of those in-between spots, and instinctively know, oh, this is kind of interesting and novel, and then I'll go from there with that.
And I'm trying.
I was about 10 years old. I mean, I was obsessed with music when I was, ever since I can remember. I was coming up with melodies and it felt like I was writing little songs, but it wasn't until I was about 10 that I got interested in guitar. And actually it was bass guitar that I started on, but I didn't even know what a bass was supposed to sound like then, so I really got into bass because that's when my friend and I came up with our own band, nobody wanted to be the bass player, so I got stuck with doing the bass, But I moved to guitar when I picked up an acoustic, and I just taught myself, really. I took a few lessons, but I really just taught myself. And I'd say when I was about 12 is when I really, in earnest, started practicing and started writing my own music,
When my son is a man, he will know what I meant.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, since I've gone out recently, I recently came back from a Midwest tour, playing some of the venues that I've frequented for the last few years, and it's not what it was pre-pandemic. In terms of the numbers. Certainly people are excited to get out. The ones who show up are like thrilled that there's live music, but I think while just from my perspective, it doesn't seem like this is like totally going away. So it's just a matter of adjusting to the new norm, I think. And once people get more comfortable with that, maybe we'll see the numbers come back to close to the way they were. So it's better than nothing, certainly. It's been better than nothing. It's been better than you can take the online stuff so far, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of challenges with that in and of itself, but when you get a chance to do actual real live, it's, even if it's not the numbers that there were, it's better than nothing, for sure.